Hello, friends. I couldn't pass up drawing a dolphin. To me, they're such a beautiful and pleasant animal, and they always bring positive emotions. I spent a while choosing the reference, and I ended up going with this one. Maybe you'd like to draw a full-grown dolphin with its fins outstretched, and if you wish, I'm sure you can do that too. But for this lesson, I chose this particular angle because it's something you're more likely to see in real life. And even if you don't have time to spend hours sketching a dolphin in this pose, you can still observe it, remember the details, take a few photos, or visit a dolphinarium. Or at least, that's one way to get a great reference. It's much less likely you'll see a dolphin in the wild in this pose, so when you have the chance, you can recreate it from nature. Now, what's also interesting is that when drawing dolphins underwater, well, for most of us, there probably won't be a chance to see them live in the water. Sure, there are a lot of photos on the internet, but as you know, or maybe you've guessed, photographs don't always accurately convey proportions and lighting. So, I decided to skip drawing the dolphin underwater for now, especially because I'm not sure how to capture the lighting underwater in a painterly way. That's why I'm offering to draw a dolphin partially out of the water. This way, we get that beautiful translucent part of the body underwater. I'll use a square sheet of paper for this, but you could use a rectangular one too. And, by the way, an interesting observation I made while looking at photos. Dolphins are perceived so differently above and below the water. Above water, they appear more tense and sharp, whereas underwater, they seem more fluid, more like they're floating without movement. Most photos taken underwater give the impression that the dolphins are almost still, so it's interesting how the perception changes. I'm also shifting the dolphin slightly to the right, so it has space around it. For now, I'm just making a rough outline of its shape. Now I'm paying attention to the angle of the dolphin's head and how the nose aligns with the body. I won't give you exact angles as I'm not great at numbers, but I'll use a rough estimate. I start with basic lines, then refine the shape as I go. If anything feels off, I adjust it. For example, the section of the dolphin's body that is submerged has a sharp, almost straight line, so I'll mark that too, even if it won't be visible in the final drawing. Now, let me erase some extra pencil marks before we move on. Let's talk about the details we have so far. Notice this little hump on the dolphin's head. It gives it a certain liveliness and character. Then, the eye is placed at the end of the mouth, right where the mouth ends. Actually, I think I'll move the eye a little closer. That makes it look cuter. It'll just be a little black dot like a human eye, with some small folds around it. Next, let's look at the fins. Since we're dealing with perspective, the fins should be about the same size if they were right in front of us. But because we're viewing them at an angle, the one farther from us, the back fin, should appear a little smaller. They both extend almost up to the nose. Take a look at the width of the nose. It's almost like the mouth, but dolphins breathe through their blowhole, not the mouth.
Ya sin ritmo bailábamos los dos. Daba lo mismo saber quién eras vos, quién era yo. Y murmuraste sin saber muy bien por qué. Amaría extrañarte al menos una vez por mes. Ya sé, mujer.
All right, now let's move on to picking the right grey colour. Here's what I recommend. Take a few blue shades and a few browns. Do not use pure black. It's too dark and dull for our dolphin, so I really don't recommend it. I'll show you what I'm working with. For example, I have indanthrene blue, which is a dark blue with a bit of a blackish hue. If I mix it with brown, I get this nice shade of grey. I also have ultramarine from Van Gogh. It's a bit murky and works well for grey mixes, so I'll likely use this one. But it's up to you. Either one can work. As you can see, they're quite similar, so either one of them will work for our dolphin. Ultramarine from Nevskaya Palitra, on the other hand, has a granulation effect, which means it doesn't mix as evenly. So, for a smooth dolphin, it's not the best choice. Now, I also have cobalt blue. but this one has a greenish tint, so if you mix it with brown, it turns green. We don't want that. So I'd recommend sticking with the classic blue mixed with brown. Try experimenting with your own colours and see what works best for you. Just keep in mind, avoid those yellowish or ochre browns, as they will create a greenish tone which we don't want. We're aiming for a nice neutral grey. Before you start colouring, be sure to choose your shades carefully. The dolphin's back has a warm, brownish tone, like here on the spine. It's almost like pure brown. On the belly, it's a bit more bluish where the water reflects. Some areas even have a stronger blue tint, especially near the belly. Let's get started. I'm going to work wet on wet, and it's all done pretty quickly. After you mix your colours, take a look at your reference and see where the colours are placed. You can even experiment on a little test piece first, just to sketch out the general colour placement for the dolphin. No need to go into detail. You can also fill in the eye now. It will be black, and we'll cover it later anyway. The main thing to focus on here is the smoothness of the dolphin's skin. The goal is to have smooth transitions between colours. Now I'm getting into the colour mixing and adding some shadow. But it's not really a shadow, it's more like the dolphin's own colour. Since we're working wet, the colour will spread on its own. We don't want any hairy or textured effects, so we'll smooth it out with a dry brush, making it even and clean. I'll add some warmer tones to the dolphin's back. For the lower part of the fin and the neck, I'll use a more ochre, brownish colour.
Parar y seguir. Esa risa puso el final del hermoso papelón, y de ahí al humo como un tren llegando a la estación. Vengo de lejos aprendiendo a mentir. Con un viaje corto fue suficiente para mí, y le dije: ya sé, mujer, esto es así. El fin fue siempre el principio para mí. Lo sé y sabes, esto es así. No importa el orden, si entendés por dónde ir. La salida fue el primer paso al revés. Daba lo mismo si el camino está ahí, nadie supo cómo fue. Tener saudade no es lo mejor para los dos, me dijo. Y me llegaste en serio, esquivando el corazón. Lo sé, mujer, esto es así. El fin fue siempre el principio para mí. Lo sé y sabes, esto es así. No importa el orden, si entendés por dónde ir. Lo sé, mujer.
Now that the dolphin is drying, I can start adding some shadows where I need them. The darkest areas are the fin and the shadow underneath it. I'm adding colour there and then blending the edges so the transitions are smooth. It's a great exercise to practice soft blending, in my opinion. If you're still having trouble, don't worry. As I move to dry brushing, I'll soften the edges of the colours with a nearly dry brush. This is how you get smooth transitions. Just keep blending until it's soft and seamless.
Siempre el principio para mí. Lo sé y sabes, esto es así. No importa el orden, si entendés por dónde ir. Lo sé, mujer, esto es así.
For the mouth, don't make it too bright. You don't want it to look too cartoonish. I recommend using a grey, not pure black. You can also make the edges of the mouth uneven, sometimes a bit thicker, sometimes thinner. And for the eye, use a spot of uneven black to make it look more natural and lively. On the fin, I'll add a little more detail, like some folds to show texture. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Don't forget to subscribe and give a like. If you want more interesting lessons, you can find them on my Patreon page. I'd also be grateful for any donations, and all ways to support me are in the description below this video. Now, let's continue with the lesson. Right now, we're going to add some freshness to the dolphin through the background. Let's add a wet circle around the dolphin. Make sure to leave a little white space around it because we'll get that white shimmer of water. You don't need to perfectly match the background to the water. You can leave some white gaps like this, and we'll add a bit of blue. I'm using ultramarine, a purple-blue tone for the next colour. We'll only add this colour where the dolphin should be shining through. We'll use some characteristic brush strokes, and some parts will blend together. You'll want to do this quickly so the paint doesn't dry. The water around the dolphin should move in circular patterns, so feel free to wipe off any excess colour to keep those wet areas from drying up too quickly. I'm spreading the blue around, and I'll also bring in some grey for the fin where it's visible through the water. You can wipe off some colour where needed to get those round, water-like shapes around the dolphin. The dolphin should have a clear border after the transparency effect. This border will define the thickness of the water separating the dolphin from the background.
Veo en tus ojos mi vida pasar y se extraña si lo cierro. Y si mañana nos toca no estar, miro al cielo y te veo. Pero ya sé que no voy a olvidar tu perfume de febrero. Cuando la noche me venga a buscar, que me lleve con tu viento. Y si la noche me viene a buscar.
And that's it. You can draw a dolphin like this pretty quickly. I hope you'll have the chance to capture your memories on a vacation or after visiting a dolphinarium and make a wonderful drawing like this. For now, you can practice with a reference image or a photograph, so later on, you can create amazing works. See you at the next masterclasses. Bye!